Welcome to this third of these 4-session Zoom meetings. No? So it's our second to the last already. And this time, I would like to begin with time for personal reflection and group sharing. No? So 3 weeks ago, after having presented the first two movements, no, we ended with the homework, with an invitation. And my invitation was, one, to continue doing the daily heart exercise, but do it in two steps, no? Or two moments, as I said. One is, the first step is from movement one, to draw your heart and reflect on what is occupying your heart space, no, for that day. And we said we'll do this for the 3 weeks. You were invited again to represent them in your heart with a word or a drawing. The grace we prayed for was the grace of deeper awareness, no? A grace, the grace of more profound awareness of what it is that we carry with us inside of us. And then we also were invited to take that reflection further, no, with the second moment, and reflect and ask the Spirit to show you how is Jesus present in your heart space for that day. If you're like me, no, like now my journal is heart studded, no. Every day there's a heart there with words inside. And for the second moment, we ask for the grace of encounter and intimacy, which is movement 2. We prayed that in doing this exercise, we may encounter Christ and his love and grow in intimacy with him. And I also encourage you, if you had the chance, not to share with one other person at least once in the last 3 weeks. So that was the homework. No? So I'd like to begin with time for personal reflection. And I would like to invite you to reflect on this, actually two questions. No? The second question is a bit long. No? First is, what were you able to do in the last 3 weeks in connection with the 4 movements of the heart? No? We understand that everybody has their own schedule. Maybe, I was only able to do it every other day or once a week or whatever. No? So the first question is really, what were you able to do, no, in connection with applying what we have been talking about, what we have been suggesting in these sessions, in the first 2 sessions of the 4 movements of the heart. And then the second question is really the reflection question, reflecting on the last 3 weeks, no, or even last 5 weeks from the first time we met on this for the first session. What changes, if any, have you noticed in yourself, in the way you related with God, with others, with yourself, or with creation? No? So like, as you practice these movements, the first 2 movements, did you notice any change in you? If you did, what changes did you notice in yourself, no, in this last 5 weeks? Or maybe you also felt being called to change in some aspect, in some area of your life. Okay, no? So just a short, that was a short time to just reflect on those questions. What were you able to do in the last 3 weeks in connection with the 4 movements, maybe last 5 weeks even? And reflecting on these last 5 weeks, what changes have, if any, have you noticed in you in relation, in the way you related with God, with others, with yourself, with the rest of creation? Or what changes are you being called to? I think you know this text from Cuskelly already, so we don't need to go through it again. But I just want to go straight to the third movement. No? So after the 2 movements, Cuskelly says, then fashioned by these forces, our own heart, no, becomes an understanding heart, open to, feeling for, and giving to our brothers and sisters in Christ. No? One of the last chats written there is, I have become more kind. I have become more kind. No? So let's just go there. No? So this is the third movement. Then fashioned by these forces, our own heart will be an understanding heart, open to, feeling for, and giving to our brothers and sisters in Christ. I call it the movement of formation. So, in other words, what Bishop Cuskelly was saying is a sustained practice of the first two movements, no, fashioned by these forces. No, it is supposed to make us, our hearts, more and more like the heart of Christ. So that's why that second reflection was important. What changes have you seen in you, or what changes are being called out of you? The question really is, have you experienced some form of conversion? Is your heart becoming more like the heart of Christ? The grace of greater awareness of your own longings and desires, and the grace of encounter and intimacy in Christ, are these graces transforming you and making you more and more like Christ? So, our experience, we're trying to validate in a way the insight of Bishop Cuskelly. So, is it true for us as it was true for him? Now, how do you know if your heart has been fashioned or formed? How do you know that it is now more like the heart of Christ? Well, look at the quality of your relationships. No? That's why I said, have you changed in how you relate with yourself, with others, with God, with all of creation? Because this is the test. And this brings me to the value of community in living a spirituality of the heart. No, we often say there is no lone ranger Christian. Christianity is not a private religion. Our God is a trinity. Our God is a community of three divine persons in a relationship of love with each other. And we live our spirituality of the heart not alone, but in community. And here, community can refer to all the different communities we find ourselves in. Our family, that's our community. Our work communities in the workplace, our church, our lay groups, etc. These are different communities that we are part of. No? The third and fourth movements of the heart make this clear. The spirituality of the heart does not end in the second movement. Just me and Jesus. I go down to my own heart every day, no? And I become intimate with the Lord. My journal is now filled with hearts. I now see Jesus in all things. I see his presence every day. That is it, finished. So no, that's not the spirituality of the heart. The spirituality of the heart calls us to go out of ourselves to relate with others. So my heart has to be tested, fashioned, and formed, and this only happens in relationship with others in community. Practicing the first two movements also makes us aware of areas in our life where we need conversion, where we are called to transformation. That's why that second reflection question also asks, if you have not noticed any changes in you, have you noticed you being called to certain changes? No? So it also reveals to us areas where we need conversion, where we need transformation. So, brothers and sisters, our Chevalier community is an intentional community. No, we just did not become members of the Chevalier family by accident. It is intentional. We want to become members, and it is intentional in terms of formation. We recognize our need to know how to live our charism and spirituality. That is why we organize formation sessions like this one. We desire as individuals and as communities to become more and more like God who is love. And that was the prayer of Laity, no? When we started this session. You see, we proclaim that we are the heart of God here on earth. And we hope and pray that this is not just a beautiful motto. We want to make it real. And so we engage in the movement of formation, the third movement. The movement of formation, no? The fruit of which is conversion or transformation in Christ, no? Not transformation, not only transformation by Christ, but transformation in Christ. We become more and more like Christ. Our heart becomes like the heart of Christ. And this third movement actually prepares us for the fourth and last movement, which is the movement that calls us to go out of ourselves and to reach out to others. The movement that calls us to mission. Now that is for next week. So I'd like to end here, no? And I'd like to end again with a homework. And this time, the homework is to be sensitive to the calls of God for you this coming week. So our reflection is getting longer, no? Now we have 4 questions to reflect on every day. Movement 1, what am I carrying in my heart today? Deeper awareness, no? Then movement 2, how is Christ present in my life? How is Christ present in my day? But that's not enough. It's not enough to be aware of what I have and to be aware of how Christ is present. We live in community, we are in relationships, and so we also ask, what is changing in me? What is changing in my relationships? What changes am I being called to? Formation, the movement of conversion and formation. And finally, no, for next week, the fourth movement, we ask ourselves the fourth question, where or to whom is God sending me today? The formation of my heart is not only for myself. The formation of my heart is for others. That I may truly be the heart of God, not only for myself, but for others. Especially in our charism and spirituality, we say, especially those who are in most need of our compassion. So this, I leave you with these reflection questions. No?
Merly, thank you for your inspiring presentation. It really highlighted that authentic formation of the heart leads to greater understanding, compassion, and service. It reminded us that being shaped by the heart of Jesus enables us to be more attentive, empathetic, and generous in our relationship with others. And thank you for your time to be with us. And thank you to you all for participating so generously. And we'll meet you again next week.